of framing with our prolific playwright, Basil Dawkins. Part 1 was so good. We have to bring you part 2 to keep you up to speed with Sir Dawkins. 1980, long time. Fast forward, we're at 2023. It means the theatre landscape would have seen a lot of evolution, changes here, there, everywhere. How would any of those changes or all the changes would have impacted the way you write, the way you approach your writing, the way you produce your work, how you cast, etc.?
The thing is that when I came into theatre, it really was not a mass sport. It wasn't a football, it was more a golf. And I've watched it evolve into becoming, I would say, a mass sport, even if not mass, but definitely many more people have shown an interest in theatre. And today it's reflected in the fact that we can run a production for 3 months and run it from Tuesday to, by and large, to Sunday, and do well with, and several productions can be on at the same time in Kingston. And so it has come a long way, baby. How has it changed? It's gone through a lot. I remember there was a time when I would be the sore thumb trying to write and produce, and then there were many other me's that came along, just like theatre. The Patrick Browns and the Hugh King and all of those people. So that the impact, I think, of Smile Orange was that it kind of democratized the landscape. So that, and people got more confident about writing their own stories, or writing about ordinary people, about ordinary folks. And Ginger Knight was very, very spectacular when it came to that, because he would actually go downtown and look at people and find a story. People watch.
They always say good writers, people watch.
And so we went through that period of popular theatre, I would say more democratic theatre. And then, of course, on the other side too, you have Sistrine and those other groups. It was like it was Black consciousness time. It was socialism time. It was them kind of the society was trying to find itself after after independence, and now we're trying to self-determine and take control of things and self-reliance and so on. So the theatre reflected that. And the other side, you have like the dub poets like Mikey Smith and Malachi and all those people. Everything happening at the same time, you know. So it went through a lot. Then we went through, and at the same time, the dancehall, the Jamaican music was getting more self-assured too. And underlying all of that, Jamaica Festival was getting more penetration and so on. So a lot of things, I would say, would have been happening in culture. So me was just happened to be in the mix, And basically a lot of things happened till it reached a point in time when, for example, one of the things I accredit to my being successful and Ginger and those people of our time is because of how terribly cinemas is pure karate. It's pure karate. So if you don't want to see karate, so they went to the theater instead. So that helped. And I say you had the whole spectrum, and then you have the children's theater with Kathy Lee and those people evolving. So a lot of things were happening. What happened is that I am of the view that theater took a beating with the evolution of what is now termed roots theater. Because it kind of alienated some
people.
Persons feel that I feel that it was almost like they felt violated because you know, Roots Theatre don't hold and keep the conventions of theatre as we know it, as traditional theatre, with the fourth wall of the proscenium and so on. Those things don't happen.
And even the languaging too.
And the language
Right.
and the
General
outlandish
staging, yes.
things and so on and so forth. So it went, I found that quite a few middle class persons kind of
Pulled away. Right.
And they also pulled away because those producers too, the Norman and the Reggie Cart and those people were not, they were no longer producing. So we went through that stage. I don't know if we have fully recovered yet, but there is an earnest search to find if there's a Jamaican style that mixes and matches and can speak to the world in a way that we know and understand and relate to, but in a way that they too can understand. Remember, it was during this time too that the Oliver Samuel started the touring, and well, Louis Bennett started before but where people like me now could have a circuit, that an overseas circuit that we could work with.
But you mentioned something that I think is food for thought and maybe an area of research that perhaps need to be tapped into by all of us who are creatives, and it's that thing about, is there a Jamaican style of theatre that mixes and blends? Because we have so much roots, traditional, where do they meet? Along with other forms of theatre styles. And so maybe Jamaica is onto something, but we've not necessarily looked into it. So that might be an area for experiment.
There is. And the Caribbean, because I remember there was a time when they like, I think it was Trinidad or somewhere in the Eastern Caribbean, when there was like standpipe theatre, where the drama seemed to have been influenced by the interactions around the standpipe in the community.
That the Letter for Lenora is one of those plays, and it's a Trinidadian setting, because the setting was at a standpipe. They were washing at the standpipe.
So while we were dealing with what we calling roots theatre, other Caribbean entities, they were finding their own thing too, and somewhere along the way, I think we ultimately will have a mixture of the proscenium. For example, you asked me, how has the theatre changed? There's a yearning that was answered by Roots Theatre for the audience to interact with the actors. And that's pretty much a staple of Roots Theatre that I think Jambies try to incorporate in a more organized way.
But I think outside of it being one of those Roots theatre forms, I think it's also I think it's also a part of the British style. There's a particular style of theatre that deals with that when you think about the theatre conventions that you employ as well. It's just that Roots would have used it in another way.
And Roots use it much more liberally. Because, for example, it is quite in order, and for those that I have seen, is that somebody in the audience says something smart, they almost suspend the play, and the action revolves around what the person said, and then when they exhaust it, now they go back and continue the play from, so there's all of that. Theatre has, one of the things that I feel has hampered us is that we don't have enough built-to-purpose venues. So venues limit the creativity. For example, God bless how much things you can do with lighting. You know, I tell people that I've been to a school theater in, maybe it was in Georgia, where they have more lights than the whole of Jamaica.
Test by shade, something like that with me too.
I mean, I've gone played in theaters where the theater is 300, then they have an annex theater that is 200 and one that is 100, and three things can be happening, But if you have one big thing, the other two theater can spin and become part of the big theater, and so on. And I say, wonder when will Jamaica get
reach
here?
to that phase. Because I think theater internationally has left us.
Yeah.
Because we don't have the resources. So on this note, we are talking about all these things that we would love to see. So if you have anything to say to the powers that be that could help us build this industry, what would you say to them? Look in the camera and tell them.
I would say broadly, respect the offering that the creative industry can make to Jamaica. Don't underestimate it. I would say, for example, see Kingston as a destination for tourism. It will be different from the North Coast tourism. It will be more cultural tourism. It will be tourism where there's day tours and so on, but night everywhere convert into a place for people to interact. Food, dance, music, the theater, stand-up comedy, everything, the con man, cane man, everybody can live. And so that the city becomes a kind of cultural mecca at nights and a corporate whatever at day. And I think if we would just have some faith and trust in our people, and let me tell you something, I feel and I know that once Jamaicans feel that they can actually benefit from behaving, they will behave.
They will behave.
You understand? Like, for example, the Japanese come here and nobody don't trouble them. When them live, them go rent a place downtown and if you go do some music and them not trouble them.
Yeah.
And we know. And I think that the more people you get involved so that the man can send him picnic or school and so on and so forth. And that won't always be in an office, that won't always be in a factory, but the culture is unlimited. You have people we can start street side artists, but the tourists will have to come and we have to get a situation where North Coast hoteliers stop tell people that Kingston is a killing street, you know, and that it's unsafe for them to come. That is what I would want, that we concentrate on developing Kingston to be a mecca for culture in this side of the world, including the southeastern part of America, because them still regard down here as...
Right. So, COVID-19. When COVID-19 came, you were in the middle of a production that was poised to do so well because the reviews were good, the people were coming out. I mean, talks with international promoters, a lot was happening.
With
and
that.
COVID came, knocked all of that out the park, but knocked theatre totally out of the park. So how is it that Basil Dawkins, the writer, the full-time producer, handled himself through COVID, and what are the lessons coming out of COVID for theatre that you think we should take?
You know, Dorraine, honestly, I never eat so much sardine in my life. I had to reinvent myself, cut my lifestyle. Everything happened so suddenly. One of the things, though, you know, is that how it happened. I remember I brought down costumes the day, and we were going to be having show. I hear about this COVID thing, and I hear that steps were going to be taken. And then Jambies called me to say, Dawkins, you're closing tonight? I said, why? I hear that. And then him say, we closing, you know. And then after that, Rufus coming from over the big theater and said, Dawkins, you're closing, you know. But I said, no, man, I not make the decision yet. He say, yeah, man, you're close.
So the decision was made for you.
The decision was made. It just hit us like that, you know. We had no preparation. And then this is how we console ourselves. Listen, man, please can't lock down like this for more than about 6 weeks. So make we give 2 months. And then things will come back into place. When 2 months come, we say, all right, give till about... and it's so we are put it, and then the thing will get more intense, more people dying. There's no cure for it. And the conspiracy theories and everything, and people afraid, and then the curfew them, and you can't even go out a day, much less night, and the limited movements and all kind of thing. And so we were in a Jamaica lockdown. It's not like me can say, all right, I'm going to do 2 tours. Them lockdown too. It was awful. It was awful period that could easily have gotten, and I think it did get some of us into depression. But what I did was, because I was very optimistic that it will always be next month. We never get so low down, and every time it's always next month. But what I did, I just told myself one day that this must end. What do I do when it ends? And that forced me to go and write. So in that period, I wrote 4 plays. I wrote, the first thing I wrote was this play.
Yes, I remember it.
Yeah, No Hope for Hope.
I think I was at the reading. You invited me to the reading.
I invited you to the reading because we say as the COVID finish, and people can come, we're going to run with this.
Yes.
And then Tony K, my daughter, who directs, after we see the COVID are going on and stop, she said, Daddy, that play that you have can't work, you know, because it's too serious, man, and it's too
heavy.
Yeah, too heavy. Them not going. You don't want people coming out of a pandemic. She said, why you don't write just a straight, simple, no thought comedy, just to make people, those who do come, make them just laugh and think. And so that is how I wrote Hide Your Husband. And I think Hide Your Husband primarily did that, right?
Very light.
It was very, very light and uncharacteristic of me to be that light, but it was deliberate.
Yes, because I know one of Mr. Eugene Williams' thing is always saying Mr. Dawkins is a serious writer. So even if it's a comedy, it's a serious comedy.
Yeah. There were issues there, you know, that people lamented.
But
and
Hide Your Husband did not fit that particular
description. And deliberately so. So now, when COVID kind of really eased up, I said, all right, Tony K, what about now? She still never, she wasn't happy about doing it now, you know. She still felt that it needed like another year or 2. I said, no, man. Because the other 2, I wrote a one-man show. My dad said us, and I redid a musical. I'd written a long time ago and redid it and kind of fit it more into the conventions that would make it Broadway ready or West End, London West End ready and Jamaican ready if we have a place to stage it for the length of time that it has to be staged to make back its money. So I got involved in those things and that kind of kept me surviving and live on a very Spartan budget and just knowing that the day would come when it would be lifted and be ready for when it's lifted.
So for the lessons coming out?
The lessons coming out is that...
Is there any?
Yeah, man, there are lessons, you know, that this pandemic is real and that we mustn't just go through life and feel that everything can be roses every day, that something can come and it will send you. And may I tell you, this pandemic, it's become, me never see, I don't know if me just start notice how much people used to dead. And not necessarily from the pandemic, you know, but derivative of, because, you know, depression, loneliness, all kind of things set in. People can't interact with their friends and so on and so forth. And people like the entertainment industry lost a lot of people, everybody. So it made you take stock. For me, I think one of the things it did, I as part of my survival mechanism is that I got into a kind of ritual of spirituality where I turned inward spiritually to look at some of the things that I can incorporate, that although they cause survival, they also equip you to be able to help others. And I find in helping others, in whatever little way you can, you help yourself.
I like how in tune this is, because this is bringing me straight, you're helping others go straight into where I'm going next with this conversation, your philanthropist work. Now, a lot of people don't know how much of a philanthropist you are. You know, that is not something that is out there and everybody talks about. So to what extent, so share with us the extent of that philanthropy work without calling names of the beneficiaries of, you know, your philanthropy.
Well, put it this way, Dorraine, I've always felt that I have climbed on shoulders, and if people weren't there for me, I wouldn't have reached where I reached. Some of them not going to announce it, and neither will I. I came up with, for example, that my whole work is making sure that others can. So, for example, as you know, all my shows are benefits. I mean, the only show I keep for myself is the first one, the opening night, and that is mostly giveaway tickets, right? But other than that, it's all my shows are reaching out to help people. The one last night was a breast cancer survivor. So I found that if I could find a way to live in the process of helping other people, that is the way I should live. So the play is a vehicle to give thanks and to help others. And that is my mantra. In addition to which, you know that I will very often do things for just help out somebody who need to be helped out. And I continue to do that. That makes me, that kind of money, you can't lodge it, but it gives me a kind of psychic satisfaction. And I feel confident that, I used to say, Dorraine, that no matter where I go, if a promoter who I've ever worked with is in that city, let's say, and I'm in trouble, I'm supposed to be able to pick up my phone, call the promoter, and he will be willing to help me because of how I conduct myself with him and so on and so forth. And that is what I believe we should do. I try to instill it in my children that you might not directly get back the benefit. It's not, you're not giving because you hope to get back, and it might not necessarily reflect in a bank account, but you know, somebody might see Tony K and say, boy, Dawkins picked me, you know, and me remember him did, you know, and she get the benefit of it and pay it forward kind of thing. So I will always live like that. And me like to give, you know, and to the extent where I can be taken disadvantage of if I allow myself to just sorry, say me no can't give more, really and truly can't do more. And I still have this dream of establishing this music school for street boys, where I teach them to play an instrument and learn to sing. I mean really learn to sing and play an instrument and know and read music. Because if you do that, you can't do badness at the same time. Well, the two of them incompatible.
We're putting it out into the universe.
Yes,
that it will happen. I mean, that's a good trait that you have that I've always admired about you, how helpful you are and how much you do for others. And so we are putting it out into the universe that you will be able to establish this school that you so desire, especially because of what the intent is.
I don't know if we even call it school, but one place where them can eat and
an institution. Let us call it an institution.
And that they get help.
That will foster
because I feel boys are more at not that girls are not at risk, but boys so susceptible to the badness, you know. And since them have a natural tendency to gravitate towards music, make them learn it properly and use it functionally and make the society a better place.
Awesome. Now, one of the things about Basil Dawkins show, and most of the reviews or listen from people, is that Basil Dawkins show don't start late. They start on time. Why is it so important to you? And I remember you're always saying to your team, listen, not 1 minute after 8:30, not 1 minute before 8:30. Why is it so important to you that we start on time, especially in an environment like Jamaica, where people believe that there is the real time and there's the Jamaican time where everything is always late?
You know, Dorraine, I just don't know. I just feel that it is disrespectful. For, say you think going to start 8:30 and start it 8:38 or 8:39 because you're not satisfied with how many people in the audience. No, you have a contract with the people. It's a contract. I write a play, get people to do the play, and we have a contract with the audience. Now, everybody think that the producer is a big boy. The audience is a big boy in my book. The people them who pay so that we can meet our expenses are the big people. And we must respect them by giving our best every night. And part of doing and giving our best is starting on time. And I don't see any reason for a production to start late. Unless, you know, power cut and things beyond our control. A group coming from country and then bus broke down and you have to wait on them also. That's different. But ordinarily, we can't, we don't have to buy into this thing that it no cost no more. Start it on time, man. And we find it disrespectful for people to come early, take and sit down and wait for you, and then when the time comes, them still have to wait again. And they were here, they made the effort. So I feel out of respect, that's the little marker that I have put down. The other thing, that's one. The other thing is that I've always used over the years is that you will never come to a Basil Dawkins production and have to cringe because of something said or done in a way on stage that make you cringe. Not because I'm not going to deal with sensitivities, but my measurement has always been my mother must be able to come to the theater with our church sister them and don't embarrass about what our son do. Maybe me outgrow it now, maybe she dead and gone long time and maybe me shouldn't be restricted by it, but it's still in me. So that even when I'm writing, if something when me feel, you know, me find one next way if we convey the same thing, but make it more palatable, make it more sensitive to others. And other things that I have some fool things, you know, which can be limited. For example, I'm not going to construct jokes that make fun of people with disability. You know, them use stammering and how people walk or how this and drop shot and this. No, I'm not into God make them the way they and we have to work with it. I'm not going to make no joke of it. If that I go cause me to be the consummate comedian, I have to respect people at all levels, at all times. I will hit at institutional hypocrisy. I will be merciless with misuse of power. I will come down hard on people who disregard others because them have more money or them kind of things. But I guess that again is informed by me think about when you're poor and black and come from a country and nobody don't know your father. You know, so I will always be looking out for the underdog in whatever way I can. So,
how would you say your work impact Caribbean though? The Caribbean on the theater industry
I would hope that somebody would tell me. I've always wanted to know. For example, why over the 40 years or so, very few institutions have asked for my play to either produce or rework or what have you. I've always felt that the School of Drama postgraduate students should, for example, have access to my plays and they look at it, break it down, reconstruct it, and you know. Me think because I don't think it's for me. I don't think me is the author of all things. I mean, I'm not the repository of all knowledge when it comes. Not because it's me write the play. Me feel that somebody else could have write the same story and write it better. And I would like to see that. I would like to sit in a theater and watch a play that me write originally, produce and it fail or it succeed, but somebody else put another spin on it and give me a wow moment because of it.
So because they have not studied may not mean that you've not been impacting the development of theatre in the Caribbean, because you would have had the privilege of interacting with so many stalwarts in the industry, but you've also been into different Caribbean islands with the work that you would have done, and even some of the same people that you would have worked with are within those Caribbean spaces working. So I'm just thinking, if probably the work wasn't so good, you wouldn't reach the other Caribbean island then.
Well, maybe it's so, but
so maybe there are different ways of telling.
Yeah. But in terms, that is why, I kind of have to lift my hat to audiences who them come out. Well, that is one thing I can say. I mean, I used to think one time that my most loyal following Floridians, because they always came out in their numbers from day one. But one of the things, I always feel too is that if you have a Benz, don't put Cursing Island there, you're not going to get the performance, And it come back to my heavy reliance and faith in the team. I spend a little time selecting a team, and I don't want to just be good and you can't get audience to come in. I want us to be happy, to be a family for the time that we have to live. And part of my remit is to make sure that I do the team building aspect of it, and to make sure that people are, to the extent that I can, make them comfortable. So even if we not give them the amount of pay that they can get somewhere else, then we still prefer to work with me, because I want to treat them as a human being. You understand?
And listen, people, I can testify to that. I work with Mr. Dawkins and I'm comfortable. And so I keep coming back year after year after year. I'm comfortable because he makes you comfortable.
And
he's
tell
easy
him
to talk to.
And it's not a money thing.
And it's not a money thing.
Right.
I can tell you that.
Right.
We had a money conversation.
Yeah.
So we know it's not a money thing. And I'm still here and he's still here. And I think he's happy working with me too. So
yes, absolutely.
He's right about that.
Absolutely.
And on a more somber note though, the industry would have seen the passing of several persons. We said that earlier. And one of the persons for me that's very dear to my heart, Trevor Dawkins. And he would have also played a fantastic role in your set and your production over many years. How has that impacted your moving forward with your work? And do you think that there's a gap now in theatre, and how are we going to fill those gaps?
Trevor was exceptional,
Yes.
Trevor was exceptional in that once you had a theatre problem and you went to Trevor with it, it became his problem to solve.
Yes.
And he would, long after you have forgotten about it, he may still call you and say, so and so this, and he was just a theatre. I've never seen a theatre person as theatre, a person as Trevor Dawkins was. And I could give him a script and say, Trevor, I'm not happy about that script. I don't know what is wrong with it, but I know it is something. Look, read it for me now and tell me is what. And somebody designed me set, and I said, Trevor, that said, I don't think it practical. It can't travel and it can't. And them look, come and them watch the play and them say, you want a set to travel with? I say, yeah, we can't travel this trip. And he would say, all right. And him come up with an abstract set. We work beautifully without even the blocking of a change. And he would just, Trevor has never told me that the cost for doing this is so and so. I may have a guess and give the man the money and say, Trevor came to me before he died, about 2 years before he died. Trevor came to me and said, Diggs, say, me run into 2 checks where you did pay me when we never cash. He said, Trevor, what you mean? He said, I don't know how I just ran into them, but they were well put away. They are only. So I said, give me them and write them over now. So now, as you know, the Hide Your Husband is what I was going to do during COVID. So he designed the set for that.
Yes.
When he designed the set for that, the sickness was on and off and so on and so forth. When he became really, really ill now, like days before, I said, Trevor, no, I'd wanted him to direct the one-man show. As a result of that, he used to come up to the house and we used to paid to see some one-man plays on TV, and we used to sit and discuss them at length and what kind of approach we could use to the script that I wrote and so on and so forth. That time Trevor was sick, you know. Then I said, Trevor, Tony K said she unhappy with doing this show with people coming, and him say, you know, I kind of agree with Tony K. I think it's a little heavy for people coming out of a pandemic. So me say, so we did the other one, and he did this set for that, and then him said, so the play that you, he said, so this show now, the one that you're going to wait, no, that is what he said. The one, let it wait and do another one. And then he called me one day and said, what about the set for the other one that you've written? Oh. I said, Trevor, I can't give that man. He said, no man, give me because it helps me. So I said, Trevor, you're not pain, and because at that time now he had the intolerable pain, you know. Right. And him say, yes, Deeks, and I gave him the script, and him did the set. He designed the set, and we talked about it, and we deal with that, the things that we had to deal with, and then shortly after he passed. And I felt, I can't think of somebody who would just inconvenience himself so regularly for so many different people just to see that theater grows. Yes. And for that, I found, I don't know how he's not replaceable, but I hope that somebody with his breadth of knowledge in all areas as far as me concerned, Trevor know about England theater, we can go England, him know about Brazil, we can go to Brazil, and him not afraid to share the things them with you. And I was particularly saddened by the fact that he passed when he passed. And I was just strengthened by the fact that, Mr. Boy, the intense pain, because when Trevor told me, said, Basil, I am feeling pain that I never knew was humanly possible. And I said, oh my God. And with all of that, him still, and if you have any questions you want about the theater, you can still call me and so, yeah. It was heartbreaking, but you know, gone to a better place, and his legacy is still here. And I think his name will be called for generations to come, and I don't know if we know his replacement yet. We might, somebody might just jump in the breach now and fit because the show must go on, and that is what he would want. So
that's exactly what he would want. I agree. May his soul rest in peace.
May his soul rest in peace.
So your daughter has over the years directed a few plays and seems to be taking on more of that. And so you working with your daughter, you direct, you producer, playwright, she director. How is it that, do those roles cross any at all? And how is it, because I mean, it's your work, your writing, but as a director, she would have had her own vision.
Well, as a director, I'm afraid there are more than Dougie and Buddy and all the other people. because no, basically, the principle I have remains, and it's the same principle that works. I am artist when I write the play. When I hand over the script to a director, I become a business person. I pull myself away from the creative process. I am there to be referred to if there's a knotty problem and there are things to be resolved, and them really, and me still go listen and hear them and hear them try resolve it, and if me say me need to jump in, but I'm able to just divorce myself from that part of it, so that she has a free hand, and it's no freer than Buddy Poyat had, or Lloyd Record had, or Dougie Proud had, or she just does what she, if she comes to me and asks, like if Dougie or Buddy or anybody came, I would still answer, but I stay out of, I don't even watch our rehearsals, you know, I really don't.
How do you feel though to see her stepping into that role without even with some parents and children, they have the job and this is the business and it's a rite of passage that the child must take over.
Yeah.
But on her own, in her own time, making her own way, finding her own pathway in the creative world without having to say, okay, I'm following daddy, or daddy's opening these doors for me, etc.
Dorraine, we just see it as something to be thankful for, because I needed her right at this point in particular, and me get her, and me thank God, but me no fool myself to feel like me going necessarily have her next year.
Right.
Because young people is young people. She try something, she like it, she may stay, but she might leave. And we work with no particular guarantees. It's not like I am establishing a kingdom that I will pass on to her. She might have, how Tony K stays, she will be very in it right now. And tomorrow she in something else.
Right.
And if she gone to that something else, don't bother her with this no more, because she's not in it. I don't know for how long. I think she's getting to like the directing experience. But as she will tell people, it's because daddy casts and give me good people. So they self-direct. I don't really find that I have to do anything much creatively. I could see where directors could have trouble, but he always give me a cast of people that, and luckily for me, although with my inexperience, they respect the fact that I am the director, and even if I'm doing something wrong, then they pull me one side and say, Ray, look at this again, and so on and so forth. So she's enjoying the process, and I'm happy about that. And I think generally, she likes theater people. When opposed to, I'm not saying she dislikes corporate people, but she kind of like the vibe and the thing of how we kind of happy and interact lovingly when we're not on stage, and she feel that there's a conviviality, there's a thing that happens that does not happen ordinarily elsewhere, and she likes that. So I'll encourage her to like it. I asked her if she would direct the one-man show that I wrote, and she said, no, ask Trevor. Trevor is the person for that. And she said, Daddy, can't promise you that one. Whereas how I used to hear the discussions with you and Trevor, and when Trevor talked about it, I said, no, sir. But I don't know, as I say, I'm happy for her. She has really been helpful, and I think she has a knack for it. I think remember, her degree is, part of her degree is in documentary filmmaking, So it's me lean upon the little aspect of it there. When I summoned her to direct for me, I never give her much choice. I just said, Tony K, my back is against the wall, you have to direct this for me. And it was a play for the big theater. I think it was Toy Boy 2 under, with Christopher McFarlane, the late, and Maylin. And they made life easy for her, And I guess as long as we can come up with good work, she will want to be associated. Who don't want to be associated with good work? So, and I think she more and more kind of liking it. So we'll see how it goes. But me now put my pot on fire for her. No? And then because Chris supports very well from England, my first boy, and he will do like the digital things and the marketing things, and come in with that. He's a marketer, so him come in with the ideas and so on and so forth. So basically, I have a team if they want to. I told them that my thing is to write plays. Most of my plays are written so that they can easily be converted to another medium, film. Because as I told people, I wasn't trained in playwriting.
Right.
But I put myself through a complete, I would say a postgraduate course in film writing. So what I do when I write a play, technically what I do is squash a film and put it on a stage. So that's why when, like for example, actor boy judges come to me harsh and so on and so forth, I kind of understood, because I say, but really and truly, you know, if you use a play measurement, maybe it does not measure, and if you use a film measurement, it's not going to measure either, because I've sought to bring both together and put it on a stage for 2 hours or so. And I am very pleased with the outcome, but I can see other purists and people who judge things might not like it until they come around to accepting that maybe this is a legitimate way of presenting a play. Primarily because when I started out and wanted to learn playwriting, I went to the School of Drama and they said I would have to do a full-time course. I was a vice president. I don't have time for doing a full-time course. I just want to know, I just wanted to know the talent that I seem to have. I wanted to give it a theoretical grounding to know that me not make mistake blindly and so on and so forth, to know what is right and what is not right. I couldn't get that. The books I read, Art of Dramatic Writing, I found them a little old, and that the current book about writing was screenwriting. Everybody wrote about screenwriting, and they are very good books. So my idea was, read all of them. I'm not interested in screenwriting, but I'd read all of them and see if I can find the codes that I can use over on the stage, and then. So I think I'm a better screenwriter than I am a playwright. But maybe it's because I know when I do right or wrong when I write a screenplay. But I wouldn't know when I write in a stage. But that's not true though. But over the years, I think I've become fairly competent in writing my kind of style for the stage. But it's easily broken out into a full-fledged movie or something for a movie for TV because of the structure that I follow.
When Basil Dawkins is not writing, he's not producing, and he's not in theatre for the entire 6 months, what is he doing? Somewhere on a yacht? Is he in a party?
No. I like...
What is he doing?
You know what I like to do, Dorraine? I like to dance. I really like dancing. I dance every week. If exercise was dancing, me would have a flat belly. But and especially with the COVID lockdown, people can't interact. You know, you don't want to three-step with masks. It's where you wear masks. But I like to dance. There was a time when I used to be an avid collector of art. I used to read ferociously, but mostly things related to screenwriting, thing. And sometimes I love cook. Sometimes I love cook for my friend. And basically a very simple life, very almost border sometimes on boredom. I'm not a boring person, but my life can sometimes border on boredom. But generally, we're just like a good lime man. And I don't drink these days, but if you were drinking and I'm there, me go and let me a drink. me go and let me drunk too. If you want me to drunk, I'm feeling. Yeah, you don't watch what I'm drinking, but me give you the good times, like me up there with you in the spirits, you know. I'm there in the spirits.
All right, so we want to close out with 2 things. You have a good bond with your children. So tell us or talk to us about bonding with the children, and the last one is advice for young creatives, entrepreneurs who wants to move forward in theatre.
Bonding with my children. Dorraine, that is another program. You see, because I never have no father, when I decided to get married and have a family, me said to myself, under no condition will my children have to go through what I went through because I never had a father. So regardless of what their mommy does, I will be there for them to the end, and I will do it sacrificially. I will, and I did that, right? I continue to do that, not as demanding on me again as formerly. I also made it very clear to my wife, then, even from before, from she was girlfriend, if a woman call me name and say, "I feel me picnic," I feel me picnic. Me nah go no court go test whether a thing, because I'm going to make sure say that child gets everything that whoever inside the marriage I get, because me nah make them batter out there. Thinking it could be mine still, you know, it might have been mine. No, sir, because me will make sure that them are right, because we don't know, Dorraine, if I that one day I go bring little hot water come give you, you know.
Yes, my grandmother used to
You always say that, yeah, man.
yes.
So you treat everybody, to the extent, when me treat everybody picnic like them are for me, and whatever is good for mine, is that me want for all of them. And the other question was what?
Advice for young creatives.
Yo-
So look in
young-
the camera,
young-
tell them.
young creatives,
or entrepreneurs,
especially first thing, have faith in yourself, and no matter how many people tell you, say, it's out of your reach and so on, don't believe them, it's lie them telling. Them don't know. If them did know, them would be more accomplished too. Basically, if you want to be a successful playwright, read, learn everything about everything, because you can write a play about anything, anytime. The third thing, read other plays, attend plays, see everything, learn what works, what doesn't work, see when your audience fidget, when them seem to be disengaged, and so on. Pick up all of those things, and then listen to people. Listen to how people talk, listen to the stories they tell, and remember, it's stories where we live. We can't live without stories. And if you're a good teller of story, you can earn a living out there. Basically though, if you're going to learn to tell good stories, you have to learn to listen to stories and be able to determine whether them good or them not. If them engage you and them hold you, them good. If they don't, they're not good. Find out what you can learn from what's not good, so that you can make sure you don't make the same mistakes. In terms of entrepreneurship, just have faith in yourself, and it helps if you have a mentor or a person who you can talk to, but be careful of the people who you talk to. It's not all of them want you to succeed. Trust me, it's not all of them want you to succeed. But if you find the one who you know in your corner, deal with him. I can tell you, any successful person that you go to and you tell them, say, you know, I would want to be like you, I'm not going to be afraid to tell you what he did that you can learn from. He will always tell you. The one them where you say, kind of cagey, I don't want to tell you nothing. No, I know them you want to listen to. Trust me, the people who you want to listen to are the people who will willing to say, when you respect the fact that you want to be something like that, and he will help you to exceed himself. That's why I teach. That's one of the reasons why I teach. I want everybody who I teach to be better than me and make life much easier than I did. And God has been kind. I've been able to do what I needed to have done. And who to tell? Tony K might be able to do it for our children too.
Who knows?
Who knows?
And on that note, we are closing out this frame for this episode. Thank you so much, Mr. Dawkins, for spending the time chatting with us. That was a mouthful, and the stories were good. Now we understand why when you put pen to paper and people come into the theater to sit down, they can laugh so much, because I really did enjoy this sit down and chat with you. And
Dorraine, it was fun. I mean, your team is an impressive team. You know, I've been learning about stick fight from watching your from watching your videos. And thanks. I appreciate this. I'm honored. I'm delighted. I'm humbled. And all the best.
All right. So join us when we come back to you in another series with another creative who will step into this frame. Thank you so much for watching.